Most men spend years trying to understand women, and yet they end up even more confused than when they started. The reason is simple. They assume the female mind works on logic, when in reality it is guided much more by emotions, perception, and lived experience. And here is the uncomfortable truth. What attracts a woman is not always what she says attracts her. What pushes her away is not always what men think pushes her away. And what is really happening in her mind is only understood by men who have made enough mistakes to learn from them, because experience teaches what no book ever fully can. Today you are going to discover 3 truths about the female mind that most men learn far too late. And the last one is the most important, because it can completely change how a woman perceives you. Think about this. How many times have you met a woman where everything seemed to be going well? The conversations were smooth. There was chemistry, there was interest. And then suddenly something shifted. She became more distant, colder, harder to read. And you were left wondering what changed. Most men look for answers in her words, but experienced men look for answers in emotions, because they understand something fundamental. Emotions often decide long before logic explains anything. And that is where everything begins. Asterisk, the first truth experienced men understand about women is that a woman wants to feel understood more than impressed. Yes, understood more than impressed. Many men think they must constantly prove themselves, show status, money, achievements, and value. And while those things may attract attention, they do not always create real emotional connection, because emotional connection is built somewhere else. It is built when she feels that you genuinely understand her. Now think about this. How many people actually listen properly? Very few. Most people wait for their turn to speak, try to prove something, or try to convince. But experienced men learn something different. When a woman talks about something meaningful, she does not always want a solution. She wants to feel heard. She wants to feel seen. She wants to feel understood. And this is where many men fail. She says, "I'm exhausted." And he replies, "You should organize your time better." She shares a concern, and he immediately tries to fix it. She expresses emotion, and he responds with logic. But emotion does not always seek logic. It seeks understanding. That is why a simple response can be more powerful than a long explanation. Instead of saying, "It's not a big deal," an experienced man says, "I understand why that made you feel that way." And suddenly, everything shifts. She feels understood, and emotional closeness begins to form, but there is more. Because the second truth explains why some women pull away right when they seem most interested. And this is where many men lose great opportunities. The second truth is that women protect their emotions far more than they show. On the surface, she may seem confident, independent, and emotionally strong. But inside, she also feels fear of rejection. She also has insecurities. She also worries about getting hurt. Many men forget this. They think only men feel pressure. Only men fear mistakes. Only men worry about rejection. But women experience that internal battle too. They simply express it differently. That is why a woman can show interest and still act distant. She can feel attraction but still move cautiously. She can want closeness but still hold back, because she is observing, evaluating, and trying to see whether you are emotionally stable. And here is one of the biggest mistakes men make. When she pulls back, many men panic. They chase, they push, they demand answers, they seek validation, and without realizing it, they confirm exactly what she was uncertain about. Emotional insecurity. Experienced men do the opposite. They understand that patience communicates confidence. Calmness creates attraction. Neediness destroys it. And that changes everything. Now the asterisk third truth is the most powerful, because it explains why some men create an attraction that feels almost impossible to ignore. And it has nothing to do with looks, money, or perfect words. The third truth is this: A woman is deeply attracted to a man who has direction, not perfection. Direct. There is a huge difference. Perfection does not exist. But direction does. Purpose does. And the female mind recognizes it instantly. Think about two men. One reacts to life, has no clear goals, no vision, no path. The other has goals, values, and is actively building his life, not to impress others, but because he knows who he is becoming. Which one feels more attractive? The answer is obvious, because purpose creates stability. Stability creates trust, and trust creates attraction. Many men believe women want someone to complete them. But in reality, most women are drawn to a man who is already complete within himself. And that changes the entire dynamic. It is no longer about convincing. It is about building yourself. Not about chasing. About growing. Not about seeking validation. About creating value. And here is something deeper. Why do women often hide these emotional needs? Because vulnerability always carries risk. Admitting what you truly want also means exposing what can hurt you. That is why they rarely say things directly like, "I want to feel understood. I need emotional safety. I am attracted to men with purpose." Instead, they respond emotionally when they encounter those traits, and inexperienced men misread those signals. They see behavior, but not the emotion behind it, and that is where mistakes begin. Now, let's talk about practical application. First, learn to listen without trying to fix everything. Sometimes understanding is stronger than solutions. Second, stay calm when she needs space. Not as a tactic, but because you are grounded in your own value. Third, build a life you are proud of. Not to attract women, but to respect yourself. Because ironically, when a man stops trying to impress, he becomes far more impressive. And that is one of the biggest paradoxes in attraction. Men with experience eventually realize something others spend years trying to figure out. The female mind is not as complicated as it seems. What is complicated are the misinterpretations. When you understand that emotions matter more than words, that emotional safety builds trust, and that purpose is more attractive than perfection, everything starts to make sense. Suddenly, patterns become visible. Reactions become understandable. And you begin to connect with people on a deeper level. Because in the end, real experience is not about how many women you meet. It is about what you learn from each experience. And those who understand this no longer try to control attraction. They become men who naturally inspire it. Remember these three truths. A woman wants to feel understood more than impressed. She protects her emotions more than you think. And she is deeply drawn to men who have direction in life. Faster these ideas, and you will understand more about attraction than most men learn in a lifetime. Now, tell me, which of these truths surprised you the most?